Gurney Norman served as Kentucky's Poet Laureate in 2009 and 2010. Gurney is the author of Divine Right's Trip, a novel, Kinfolks, a collection of short stories, and Ancient Creek, an original Appalachian folk tale. He has co-edited 2 collections of essays, Backtalk, Confronting Appalachian Stereotypes, and An American Vein, Critical Readings in Appalachian Literature. Norman and his wife, editor-publisher Nyoka Hawkins, operate Old Cove Press, a regional literary press which has published 3 books of poems by Frank X. Walker, Appalachia, Black Box, and Isaac Murphy. I dedicate this ride. In 2011, Berea College granted Gurney an honorary degree in Humane Letters degree. Gurney. Good to see you.
Thank you. Congratulations to Frank. And thanks to Governor Beshear for those eloquent remarks earlier. This is a historic day that we will always remember. Many good people, most of them unseen or acknowledged, have worked patiently and effectively for years to create this special moment in Kentucky history. We're fortunate to have the Kentucky Arts Council, led by the wonderful Lori Meadows, to nourish the arts all across the Commonwealth. For the arts are a form of wealth that we do indeed hold in common. A brief story. It's called The Dance. One morning, about a month before he died, Granddad Collier and I were in the living room at the home place watching TV together. It was unusual for Granddad to watch TV at all, let alone that early in the morning. But he had been sick for several months. He hadn't been able to go outside very much. This was the first time he'd come out of his bedroom fully clothed in several days. I was drinking coffee and flipping through some old magazines and only half watching the television. I closed my magazine and turned the volume up, and the 2 of us settled in our chairs to watch the Today Show. The show had the usual news and weather reports and advertising and chit-chat among the announcers. But finally, they got around to the feature part of the program, which that morning was a 5-minute excerpt from a new film about village life in modern China. This was in the days when film reports from China were exceedingly rare, especially on American television. This one had been made by a British crew that had been given access to one of the model agricultural communes. There were pictures of smiling Chinese people working in the fields, of small children singing in school, of people going down a dirt road on bicycles. Granddad watched these scenes with moderate interest. But when the film cut to pictures of a group of elderly Chinese men taking their exercise in a courtyard, Granddad's interest really came alive. He leaned forward in his chair and turned the sound up, then stayed forward with his face close to the screen. The old Chinese men looked right back at him, unsmiling. Their bodies moved in graceful unison through a routine that seemed to be a form of Tai Chi. Stretching and turning, bending and posing, the old men moved with profound elegance through the series of gestures and poses. They were truly old men, the community elders. Naked to the waist, their bodies were thin as the bodies of small boys. These men had lived long and seen much, and yet their old faces had a strangely youthful aspect to them. They seemed relaxed and untroubled. The morning sun was shining on them. It was as if the sun was feeding them directly, making their bodies fluid, flexible, full of strength and grace. After a while, Granddad got up and went on back to his room, and I didn't see him again until the early afternoon. It was a day in early spring in Kentucky, when the mornings are overcast and cold, but when the afternoons can be sunny and warm enough to go outside in your shirt sleeves. We had been having sunny afternoons for several days, but so far, Granddad hadn't felt like going out into them. This particular day, however, about an hour after eating a bowl of soup for lunch, Granddad put on his coat and sweater and went outside to stand in the sun alone. Then slowly, he raised his arms above his head and stretched himself real good. He bent to one side, then the other, keeping his arms outstretched. Granddad stretched and turned. He bent and lowered his arms, all in a flowing motion that became a dance as he kept it up. Herschel Collier, my grandfather, ex-logger, retired coal miner, hillside farmer, age 83, was standing beside his house in the Kentucky mountains in the sunshine of one of the last spring days of his life, doing the Kentucky version of Tai Chi. Granddad danced for several minutes before he heard the screen door slam on the far side of the house. Someone was coming. Quickly, he stuffed his hands back in his coat pockets and resumed his slow walk around the yard. As far as I know, he never did Tai Chi in the sun again. Thank you.